Hey, this is Rosa Rubio Giotto, RCG Creations. How are you doing? Today we're going to be dehydrating celery. In error, because of the COVID stuff, I do the Walmart pickup delivery at grocery stores, and I'm also a member of Fetch and Ibotta, so I want to get my points and all that, so that's what I do. And you know, they have to give you the substitutions and everything else, and I had been reading how a lot of people are having trouble with substitutions, so whenever I get it, I just accept it and not worry about it. But they had, my last order, they had like 7, maybe 5, 7, somewhere in there, substitutions, and 3 of them I did not want at all. So I was like, so I just did an edit. I thought you could just edit. Well, you can't edit. So it was like, but I didn't realize it until I got there. So to make it simple, and I'm not going to tell the whole gory details. If you want information, put it in the comments and I'll reply to you of the circumstances. But if you actually do the reviews of the Walmart drive-up pickup, you'll see what I'm talking about. So anyway, I ended up getting a double order of everything. And this is 2 heads of celery is way more than me and hubby can handle in a time frame. And before it gets all yucky and wilty, I'm going to go ahead and dehydrate it. I don't have any that's dehydrated anyway. I have some that's frozen. And I'm going to start making some soups and some stews. And so because I did a double order, our freezer is packed full and there's no room for nothing. So I can't freeze this, so I'm going to dehydrate it. So what I want to bring to you today is what we're doing. Now, so here's my heads of lettuce, my celery, excuse me. Now, I don't wash this because I cut it all up and then I put it in my colander, and I'll bring you to this. And I wash every single little piece, and then I put it in my strainer. That way I know every single little piece has no dirt particles in it. So that's what I'm going to do. I have one bowl here for my scraps, which I'm going to save to make my vegetable broth. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to cut everything as if I would for my vegetable broth. So one bowl is going to be for scraps, one's going to be for dehydrating. And every single piece of the celery is good for your vegetable stock. So here's the bottom. Save the whole thing just the way it is, but I'm definitely going to clean all the dirt out, because when you're freezing your vegetables to get ready to save till you have enough batch to, let me get my towel here because I'm going to do this with my left hand, is you definitely want to make sure you clean and you rinse off your veggies. Okay, so just to make it easy, I'm going to go ahead and just cut these. And then I'm going to cut them again when I chop them down, but I personally don't like this yucky part, so I just save that for the broth. And you see how it's kind of the dry part here? I cut that off, but I don't throw it away, because that's good for your broth, and then the whole thing's going to go in for my broth. So this is the part, these are the pieces that are going to go into my dehydrator. This is the broth stuff. And just to cut down on time, I'm just cutting this up. I'm not really, whatever gets cut is what gets cut. I'm not measuring it, because I'm going to be dicing these into small pieces anyway when it goes into the dehydrator. So I'm not too worried about the sizes right now. I'm just cutting off all the dead part. It's not really dead, it's more dried up than anything. But those are really good in your broths. And then pretty much all the broths that you use, that you make, vegetable, chicken, beef, it's always good to have some vegetables when you make it, just for added flavor. Okay, I'm just double checking to make sure that I cut off all the dried up spots. And don't forget, like I pretty much say all the time, start with clean table, clean hands, wash them with soap and water, clean utensils, everything that you're using that's going to touch the food, make sure it's all clean. Now stuff like this, I don't dehydrate that. I mean, I don't dehydrate that to eat, to put it in my stews. This is what I use for my broth. And see, that's not worth it. But because of size in my bag, I'm just going to cut it down. See, because that's awful long, so I'm going to cut this down. And look, that one's a long one. I'm going to cut that down also. I should have done this earlier before I put it in here. Now I'm looking at it. I was like, oh, I forgot to cut it. So I'm going to cut this down. And I'm going to put everything in a Ziploc baggie. And, or if you have your baggie for that the celery came in, it's okay to put it in there because it just has to be a plastic container. And make sure when you rinse it all off, you dry off the excess water so you don't have a bunch of ice particles when it gets frozen. Okay, no. Here's kind of a yucky piece. Just cut off. Remember, whatever you're going to dehydrate is what you're going to eat. So if you wouldn't want to eat it now, make sure you cut it off, because you're not going to want to eat it down the line. And to save on time, you want to do all this now before you put it in the dehydrator. Okay, so making sure that I cut any of the dried up pieces. That's going to make some good stock, vegetable stock or vegetable broth, whichever one it is that you want to make. It's also going to be good for chicken broth. I think it's like 20, maybe 18, 20 jars of broth. So I'm pretty much stocked up. And then after Thanksgiving, I bought some more broth because it was on sale. So I've got like, I think like 4 or 5 store-bought broth. So I'm pretty much, I have more than enough broth that we can handle since we're empty nesters. But this will stay in your freezer for, my understanding from all the reading on everything that I've been reading on Google, National Center for Preservation site. And I'll start adding that site to my description box link, so that way if anybody wants to get on, they can look it up. I highly recommend everybody do their own research. And this is just what I've seen. I've done this before. I don't know how many times. I've actually been dehydrating for 20 plus of years. I'm on my second dehydrator, and in a minute I'll show you what kind of dehydrator that I have. Okay, so I cut this out. So because I'm going to rinse all this up and I'm going to cut again, I'm going to wash these 2 items, my cutting board and my knife, when I also go back and I cut my celery. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm back here to the sink, and I think you can see this. So what I'm doing, I need cold water. Sorry there, I'm trying to get my cold water to, I don't need a full force. And then basically you're just putting your finger in between the little grooves and making sure there's all the dirt. And then I'm putting it in the strainer over here. And I'm going to let it soak in water so it loosens up any additional dirt. You don't have to be overly precise, but I do like to make sure that all the dirt is off all of these vegetables as much as possible. Nobody wants to eat dirt, unless you're a little kid. My parents told me I used to eat dirt when I was young. I don't know how true that is, but and then sitting here, you'll see the dirt. It's really easy to see. pretty much most of it just rinses right off. And so you'll see all that, all the dirt's gone. I'm just looking to make sure you can still see everything that I'm doing. I'm in frame. I'm doing good. See that right there? You see the dark particles in there? Just get your little finger, depending on how big your fingers are, and get inside the grooves. Try not to break the celery until this all comes off. See, I told you how easy this is. You just scrape all the way around. Wherever you see dirt, that's what you want to rinse off. Now, there's several things on Google, the internet, pretty much, you know, anywhere you want to read information. I tend to go to the library also and do some reading and researching. You're supposed to blanch your celery before you dehydrate it, and you're supposed to blanch it before you freeze it. But there's becoming more and more people who don't do it, and basically I'm going to be honest with you, it's a personal choice, because everybody's taste palette is different. So try a small batch one way, blanch it, try another batch another way, don't blanch it. I have always blanched it. This is going to be my first time of not blanching it, and this is just 2 stalks. Even if I personally don't care for the taste, when I put it in a soup, because I'm going to make some more chicken noodle soup, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't like celery. I eat it raw with cream cheese, or I eat it raw just to have it as a side dish. I mean, not a side dish, as a side snack. And I cut it into little bite-sized pieces like that. Take it in a container, take it to work, and then that's my afternoon snack. Just to give me something to do after lunch and before I get home, because I usually don't get home till around 6:30 from work. You know, and then hubby, he's always had a job where he was home before me, but then he goes in at 4:30 in the morning too, so. And he usually, he's basically the most main cook in the house. Until lately, last year, because this is now 2021, when I started pressure canning. This is my first, last year was my first year pressure canning. I started, and now you just want to rinse your jar just to make sure there's not any particles or any dirt. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it all through another rinse, just to be on the safe side. Move them around. And I like to tap it on the center here, just to remove any excess water. Now we're going to do our scraps the same way. We're going to get rid of any additional excess. Again, because this is going to go into my vegetable stock, you want to make sure you got rid of all the dirt. And double check your little leaves and move those around, because the dirt gets, you know, dirt, it gets everywhere. Especially those who do laundry, they know dirt gets everywhere. Places you wouldn't think how did the kid, my child, get that dirt where it is? I remember that when I used to do laundry when the kids were little. We only have one daughter, but I had 3 step boys. They were already teenagers. One of them was already graduated high school when I met their dad. You know, we got married, so I missed out on the little one. But then my daughter, she had a little boy and a little girl, so I got my first time helping raise a little boy, and it was like, woo, they're so different from girls. And it was like, okay, especially my daughter, because she was a little princess. She didn't like to get dirty. I mean, she would get dirty. Oh, oh, dirt, dirt. She instantly wanted it wiped away when she was little. She hated dirt. Then she got like 7 or 8 years old, and she liked to climb trees. She used to ride horses. Her dad's parents had a farm, a mini little farm. So they had chickens and horses and turkeys and pigs. And she was just doing what the kids do, going out, helping with the farm and the animals and feeding the animals and all that. She spent weekends over there. So she would get dirty, and I'm just going to get home, and it's like, oh my gosh, all the dirt. Just couldn't believe all the dirt. So you're just basically rinsing it off, making sure all the dirt is out. And then this is all I'm doing here. I can turn that off. You might see some little dark particles. Some of this is just dark leaves, but I'm not going to worry about it. This is my little piece that I cut off that was kind of dry. Take out my roll, rinse it all off. I'm just going to put this in the sink in here. And then, because this is sitting up here, it's going to drain. So when I'm done with my celery and dehydrating, most of this water is going to be out. So when I go to put it in a Ziploc baggie to put it in my freezer, most of the water will come out. But I also have a salad spinner that I use to remove the excess water from vegetables, fruit. I really enjoyed it. My mom got that for me years ago. And it's a nice big family size one. And I'm just rinsing off my sink. Okay. Let me take you back to the kitchen. We're going to be doing some slicing and then loading up the trays. Okay, so now I'm going to dice up the celery, and as I dice it up, I'm going to put it on my trays. And to save on time, I am going to do as many as my knife can hold and cut good. And the smaller the pieces, the faster it dehydrates. And I'm just going to try to do them at the same width. Okay. Then I'm just going to lay them, try not to touch any pieces. So that way they dry. And you can load this up pretty darn good. Well, again, it also depends on what kind of dehydrator you have. Yeah, hubby was telling me, hubby's getting himself some chocolate milk. He wants his evening snack. He's telling me that you can't see the whole dehydrator tray. And I go, that's fine, because the main thing is I want you to see the chopping, because this is kind of for a newbie. Somebody that's totally new to all this. And you know what? I mean, we all have to learn sooner or later. And not all of us are lucky enough to have a parent that does this and teaches us how to do that. So it's like some people have no idea how to chop vegetables, how to do what I'm doing. So that's why I'm doing this step by step. And I'm going to label this, dehydrating celery for a newbie. So from the very beginning to the very end, I've noticed that I've seen a couple of seasoned YouTubers that they skip a very important step, like, well, how did you get from there to there? And what did you do from this to this? And there's no additional comments on it. There's no discussion. There's nothing in the description box. And it's like, you're kind of left hanging. And so I learned to, my videos, I don't want them to be that way. Yeah, they're a little bit longer because I don't do this. But you know what? I am not doing YouTube to make money. I know I will not get rich on this. I know this will not be my job that I sustain myself on, because especially being a newbie, I've only been doing this, I think, going on 2 years now that I've had my channel. I had it under another name, then I changed it to my DBA name, RCG Kreations, just because of the DBA status thing. I see that one, that one's a big piece, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half. There's another one. Just because I want it to cook evenly. Not cook, I want it to dry evenly. So I'm going to go ahead and do all this whole bowl, and then I'm going to bring it back. Okay, here's my dehydrator. I have the Nesco Garden Master. Didn't say what kind, but I like it because it's got the thermostat. So the different dials are there. Now this particular model requires you to always dehydrate with at least 4 trays. So the bottom one is empty. Now mine, the air bowl's on the bottom, and so I need to put these trays on the bottom. So let me move these out. I messed up, because I want the air to circulate on the bottom. And bear with me. Sorry, I'm kind of moving a lot here because I'm one-handed. Okay, so the trays with the vegetables on it are going to be in the bottom. And my 4th tray, which is just strictly there for requirements and manufacturer requirements to dehydrate properly. And I don't want to mess up my machine. And this particular model, I think, does up to 20 trays. I have 10 trays. And then here's my lid. Okay. And then there's a little hole in the center there. So I'm going to turn it on. It's already programmed because pretty much everything that I do is veggies. It's 135. Okay, so we'll come back and it's already almost nighttime. It's nighttime already. So I'll be back in the morning because I'm going to let this cook overnight. And I'll show you what the next phase is. Okay, we'll be back in a bit. Hey there, how are you? I'm back here. This is the next morning. I'm trying to hurry up because I got to get ready for work. So now it's all dehydrated, and now I'm just going to pick up, I make my own little plastic sheets for my dehydrator, and they're just got them at the craft store, and this is that cross-stitch stuff, plastic stuff. And then you just scrape everything to the edges, all to one side to make it easy to put into your jar. And 2 stalks of celery made 1/2 of a pint of dehydrated garlic. So now we'll have this. And of course, some of this stuff drops to the next level. Just pick it up. Oh, sorry, this is celery, not garlic. I'm still kind of sleepy. And then you just want to pick up every little piece. Okay, everything is done. So there you go. 2 stalks of celery made probably a little bit less than 1/2 of a pint of jar. And hubby's gonna go ahead and seal it, put the lid, the ring, and then vacuum pack it, and then we'll be all set, and then we'll label it and put it on our shelf. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Have a great day. Don't forget to hit like, share, comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Bye-bye. Take care.